Hello, folks. My name is Alyssa Skanga. I am your host this evening. Welcome. So happy to have all of you. Uh, we are recording the webinar, so we can post it for future viewing. So if you prefer to not appear in that recording, please leave your camera off. Thanks so much. A bit about Climate Justice Durham. We're a multi-generational group of volunteers. We are advocating for effective, equitable climate action in the community and beyond. We are advocating for better government policy, improving community awareness and understanding of climate change, and helping build community capacity and resilience. So we're hoping to address the severity of this crisis, ensure we're ready for its impacts, and create a healthier and more sustainable future for all. We started in 2019 as Fridays for Future Whippy, and in 2021, we became Climate Justice Durham. At the beginning of the year, we began hosting our Learning Circle webinars, helping folks learn and connect with smart, caring people who are doing amazing work on climate justice. And we are so happy that you could join us for our second Learning Circle event. Tonight's very timely topic is community gardens, fostering connection to food in Durham region. So our goal is to educate and equip our community for action. We hope something you hear about tonight will leave you inspired and empowered to act, to help build community and protect this corner of the planet. So if this is your first time participating in a CJD event, please let us know in the chat how you heard about it. And yeah, we will get started. Climate Justice Durham is active on the lands of Mississauga and Anishinaabe, which they inhabited and then continue to inhabit for thousands of years prior to European colonization. These lands are known today as the traditional and treaty territory of the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, Alderville First Nation, the Chippewas of Beausoleil First Nation, the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We honor and respect these nations as rights holders and are grateful to them for their stewardship of these lands and waters. We also thank them for their willingness to share their deep knowledge of the earth to help us repair and rebuild our relationship with nature. We know that some people might be joining from different places or even outside of Durham region. So if you would like to share in the chat your land acknowledgement, personal to where you are, that would be lovely. I am currently in school in Peterborough, which is known as Nogojiwanong, and that means the place at the end of the rapids, as this was a place, a gathering place at the end of the Otonabee River, the Odonabe, which means the river that beats like a heart. So I'm very grateful to be here with you all today. And so just a bit of ground rules. Please be considerate of others, ask respectful questions, or please put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. And if you like a question, we'll know which ones folks want to hear about most. Julia, can you wave? Julia's waving, see. She is going to be managing the event and taking note of the questions as they come in and queue them up for response. And Suzanne is going to help keep us on time. So we are very, very pleased to have as our speaker tonight a longtime leader in urban food production in Durham, Carol Vandersanden of We Grow Food. Carol has been a local entrepreneur for over 38 years. Her life as a chef has kept her close to the local sustainable food sources. She's been growing her own food for over 25 years, harvesting 2,500 pounds on her front lawn. In 2013, Carol and 6 other urban farmers began We Grow Food, which has installed over 28 gardens throughout Oshawa since its inception, including 5 neighborhood gardens. They've also created and taught over 40 programs in the gardens, as well as schools, senior centers, libraries, and other community orgs. Her film called Experiments in My Vegetable Patch interviewed other urban farmers about why they grow their own food. Carol believes that hands-on education about our food sources, how to grow food, and how to prepare healthy meals is a basic life skill that everyone should be taught. So everyone please give Carol a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. So some of the introduction already includes some of the things I was going to say, but I'll continue on. So I am Carol Vandersanden, and I am a chef and an urban farmer. I would also like to mention Michelle Perry, who has been working very closely with us since 2016. Michelle has a background as a child and youth worker, and we both work together on all of the We Grow Food programs along with all of our volunteers. Learning how to grow food and beginning to grow some of our own food is a huge step towards food security. Food bank visits have more than doubled since COVID, and they say that changes for the better are not anywhere in sight. Those visiting the food banks comment that there is very little fresh produce. I started growing my own food over 15 years ago. I'm not exactly sure, I'm not very good at time. And thinking about how many ways this impacts us. Every edible garden installed decreases our carbon footprint. Every garden installed means fresh produce right at our fingertips. Every garden that grows, for example, 4 tomato plants, is enough for us to eat tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, throughout the season, every day, and still have enough to do some canning. Every garden, no matter how big or how small, gives us a sense of empowerment. It makes us feel that we have a say where some of our food is coming from, and that as an individual or a group, we can make a difference. So let me tell you a little bit about how We Grow Food began. I remember and will always remember sitting at the table restaurant with 5 of my friends, all who grew some of their own food. We talked about how important it was in our lives from a financial, health, and lifestyle perspective. We talked about teaching people how to bring back the kitchen garden within the community of Oshawa. We envisioned how this was going to address hunger in our community. It seemed so simple to us. The first year, we canvassed neighborhoods, and soon we were installing over 28 gardens at people's homes with all monies and supplies raised by us. A resident of downtown Oshawa who received one of our flyers called me and said that there was an empty lot beside her house and that she'd like to have a neighborhood garden there. I said to her that it was 4 o'clock on a Friday. I doubt that I would be able to get an answer, but I'll call one of my friends at City Hall and make some inquiries. By mid-morning on Monday, I got a call back from City Hall saying that they'd had an emergency meeting and got approval and that it was a go. That fast, that easy. I found that so interesting. Our first neighborhood garden. We really didn't know anything, but we knew how to work. Within 3 years, we had 5 gardens throughout Oshawa, totaling almost 2 acres of land. Some of you may know Alexander's Bounty. It's on Lake Ridge Health Foundation property just north of the hospital on Simcoe Street. We have handed off this garden now to the Oshawa and Durham Region Métis Council, who continue to run it very successfully, feeding hundreds of their own families and then community members as well. During COVID, the regional health organization wanted We Grow Food to shut down because all recreational activities were on hold. We spent weeks explaining the impact of the work that we were doing and the number of people that counted on the fresh produce that we were growing in all the gardens. Finally, We Grow Food was classified as an essential service, and I can tell you we never had more volunteers. People who had been cooped up in their homes were so happy to be outside in the gardens working to grow food and then hand it out. With dozens of volunteers, we grew fresh produce and we were feeding upwards of 500 people per week. And this was done through our Harvest Tuesday program. Once things began to open up after COVID, we wondered how we could make or begin to reach more people. Food banks were overrun and there was such a high demand. It was time, once again, to teach people how to grow some of their own food. And so the Edible Garden Project began. Break time. Thank you. By 2023, we were impacting over 6,000 people. By 2024, 8,500 people were being impacted in 86 gardens throughout Durham region. And by the end of spring this year, we will be at 104 gardens. And this is possible, of course, because of our amazing partners, our donors, our board members that are stellar, and our incredible volunteers. We have four main partnerships in this edible garden project. In the spring of 2022, Feed the Need Durham partnered with We Grow Food to install the first 6 gardens at schools. Once they were completed, the DDSB reached out to us for a meeting and they asked if we could install gardens at all 139 plus schools. Of course, we said yes. And when we hung up, we were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? But it was simple math. The funding from DDSB, we will, with the help of DDSB, we will complete all schools by the end of 2027. Our second partner is the Durham Catholic District School Board. Now, they have no funding available, but Scott Greaves, who is the superintendent, he works very closely with us to determine the schools that will be prioritized as funding comes in. We are committed to help them complete all 47 schools. Durham Region Local Housing and Durham Region Nonprofit Housing Corp have dozens and dozens of neighborhoods throughout the region. We are currently at almost 20 gardens in nonprofit neighborhoods and growing steadily. What is really cool about having school and neighborhood gardens is that we are connecting the dots. Students have gardens at their schools and are getting education on growing food. But then the neighborhoods that they live in also have gardens. So the youth are well exposed to these transferable life skills. So what happens to all of the food that is grown, people ask. Some schools fill their school pantries, the pantries that have food available to anyone who requests a meal or to take something home. Some do salad days. One teacher reports that they had enough lettuce to send home for Thanksgiving, a large Ziploc bag for each one of their students. That's a lot of lettuce. Dr. S.J. Phillips' garden team had such a unique program. They created garden sampler bags of produce. They would create a menu and send it home with all of the families to let them know what was ready. And then the next day, families would come in, go to the front foyer, and the students would hand out these sampler bags. The teachers that we spoke to said that the students were so absolutely thrilled that they were able to produce that much food. And isn't this what it really is all about? Working together and sharing to a wider community. We were planting a small orchard at David Bouchard School, and we were working with grade 8 students, planting 6 fruit trees and 12 berry bushes. Now, I can tell you that the grade 8 students were not exactly thrilled to be spending a whole afternoon digging holes for trees and berry bushes. But when it was done, we stood back and we looked, and it was amazing. I pulled the group together and I asked one question. You're in grade 8. You're leaving in a couple of weeks. You're never going to see these trees fruit. And one of the grade 8 boys put his hand up, and this story always gets me. And he says, when I finish university, my first stop when I get home is to come back and take a look at the fruit trees. It was so, I don't know, it was such an inspiring moment to hear that somebody had that much foresight, and it gives a lot of hope. The Edible Garden Project provides everything that a new garden team will need to get started. We do a full day of educational shops and build two accessible garden beds built from Canadian cedar. We give them premium triple mix soil, seeds, seedlings, hand tools, trellising, watering cans, moisture readers, row cover for their beds. And then the students paint word murals on wooden plaques on the theme of sustainable food practices, community, and the environment. These colorful painted plaques, are then attached to all of the garden beds for everybody to enjoy. When we install a garden, we always leave room to grow. We get them started with two beds, but then the following year, they have the option to expand and add more beds if they feel they're ready. Some choose to have fruit trees and berry bushes planted, giving them fruit for many years to come. And because more and more garden locations want fruit trees, Michelle and I have both completed a certification course on fruit tree care to ensure that all trees are properly taken care of, and that we will be training some of our mentors to assist with that as well. We currently have 11 locations with fruit tree installations. We would like to see it at all locations. Our hope is to have each garden not only grow as much food as possible, but to teach students who take it home with the trickle effect, bringing that knowledge home and beginning gardens, even something very simple at home. I had one family reach out to us and she said, "Do you know how many cucumbers grow on one plant?" It's amazing how excited people get by the simplest things and how little many know about what it looks like to grow even a simple cucumber plant. But those are always the fun calls and emails and pictures to get. We hope to inspire students and residents to see that growing food is not a chore, but as part of a sustainable and healthy lifestyle. We Grow Food understands, though, that building an edible garden and just moving on does not create a sustainable project. There is much to learn by new and eager gardeners. In 2024, I have a cough that just doesn't want to go. We Grow Food, in 2024, We Grow Food started a mentor program, a program that was supported by DDSB and 11 of our volunteers. All of these volunteers who became mentors had experience working with We Grow Food in education and garden care and completed our core training program. Each mentor adopted a series of gardens. They were equipped with a toolbox that contained everything that they may need when they visited each one of the gardens 3 times throughout the summer. Now, keeping in mind that each location has their own garden team that is mandatory that they put together. And then the We Grow Food mentors go 3 times during the summer to meet up with these teams and help them out in any way. So the job that the mentor has is to share organic practices to make sure that we are doing our very, very best to only use these practices, to schedule a meetup time with the garden teams, to troubleshoot in the garden, to assist in pruning and trellising. It is amazing how many people are afraid to prune a tomato plant. to help with pest control, provide seeds and additional seedlings for succession planting to keep the gardens producing well into the fall. At the end of each visit, the mentors submit a report, which then allows us as a team to assess next. So, how do we know that the program is working and that it's going to be sustainable? It's so easy to start something and it just sort of dies off. Well, with We Grow Food, and we did explain this to the DDSB that and to other schools outside of the DDSB, we know that principals change. We know that teachers move around and custodians change. We know that students move up grades and leave. So We Grow Food was going to be the constant that was going to help keep the edible gardens going. I can tell you that now, to date, all 104 gardens are going strong. But it's all through continued communications throughout the year to keep that spirit alive. When a new garden season is approaching, every garden already installed is contacted and they're given two options. One, they wish to have We Grow Food come back, provide more education and help with planting. Or option two, they feel confident to plant and run their own garden. There is no option three, which is leaving the garden dormant or unattended. All gardens must choose option one or option two. And to date, we have about 23% of the gardens who have now said that they can go on their own. Our hope is that when a garden is started, that after two growing seasons, they feel confident to take care of the gardens themselves. But we still offer them the mentor program to come throughout the summer to assist if they need help. We're always available. And my last. We hope that all schools and neighborhoods say to us that they can do it on their own. And then we watch them thrive as they send us pictures and recipes and kids working away, smiling faces around their edible gardens, holding up produce that they've grown or salads that they've made themselves. And that finally, soon, we hear that food insecurity numbers are on a decline. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol, so much. This was such a good presentation. Oh, and look, there's the email and the website and the Facebook for We Grow Food is all on there for everyone to see. Um, I feel like I'm looking at people. Are you all giving Carol a big hand because she definitely deserves it? They are. I see people clapping. This is good. Okay, so now we have some time to ask Carol questions, and I definitely have a billion thousand of them, but I will let other people go first, or I will take up the whole time. So you're able to put your hand up on Zoom, or you can put them in the chat, and we can try to see some of the questions and hope we can get answers to them. All right, so Christy says, Carol, what is your advice for someone starting a front yard veggie garden?
Just do it. I remember a few of us putting this garden out. My house was set in quite deep. I lived on Grandview and it was an older house. Um, and as you mentioned, we grew 2,500 pounds of food there. It really isn't that hard. We don't need to start big. Start with one garden if that makes you comfortable and just expand from there. Um, what I did with my garden was I had a chalkboard at the sidewalk and it said that all are welcome. that you are welcome to come and harvest and look around whatever you like. It's open for you. And and it's so interesting because nobody came onto the property, and I thought that was so strange. Like, I mean, it was an open invitation. Come pick whatever you want. There's a ton of food. And I remember thinking, okay. So I picked all this produce and I put it on a table at the sidewalk, and nobody was taking it. So finally I sat down at the table at the sidewalk with the produce and I started handing it out. And I remember the city bylaw coming, and they were parked in front of the house, taking pictures, making notes. And I remember sitting on my front porch smiling at them and waving, and they never said anything. They just did what they did in that car and left. I don't know honestly what the rules are about having it in your front yard. I know that they're sticky about it being on a boulevard, but front yard, I mean, the gardens were impeccable. Um, so I would say you just get started. I just got rid of all my grass and grew food.
That's
And if you have specific questions, whoever that was, you can always drop me a message if it's very specific about how to get started. But yeah.
Patricia Lowe says, "What's the startup cost for a school garden?"
For a school garden to start, it depends what board you're in. The cost is $3,950. If you're at the DDSB, the school only pays $500. And the reason we want the school to pay $500 is to show that they have some buy-in. And then the DDSB funds the remainder. And it includes all of the things that we discussed. If you have a school or know of a school or a family that goes to a school that might like a garden that doesn't have one, you can reach out to us. We still have a couple of spaces available in June if you're looking for a garden. If you are not, if you're at the Catholic school board, you have to reach out to me, and then I have to quickly find some money, and then we will install it in June. We move quickly.
Still keeping an eye on the chat, or does anyone, can't see if anyone has their hand up. Um, oh, someone sent me a question specifically. Someone asked Carol, what your favorite memories of interacting with students at the garden are.
It's funny. I don't have a favorite memory, but I have so many that I said to Michelle, we could write a book. The things that students say, and the when you have somebody in junior kindergarten know what photosynthesis is, or capillary action, or these germination. Or when a little girl comes up with a tiny, tiny, tiny lettuce seed in her hand and says, "So you're telling me that that tiny seed is going to grow into a whole head of lettuce?" Or the boy who says he's going to come back and visit the garden. He's in grade 8 and he's already talking about after university. I can tell you that my kids always smile when I say, "I've just had the best day ever." And they go, "You say that every day." It's just, I am blessed to be able to work with so many generations of people and be filled every day.
I am trying not to cry because that was very, very
Well,
nice.
I'm telling you, let me tell you a quick story. It's about my garden on Grandview. I was I was sitting on my porch and just looking at a garden, and this car pulled into my driveway, and I didn't know who they were. And so I just waited. and nobody came out, and they left the driveway. A couple of minutes later, they must have gone around the block. He came back into the driveway. A gentleman got out of the car and he comes up to me. I'm sorry, I take after my father. And he says to me, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Why? Like, why are you doing this?" Now, he had come from Toronto and he had seen it, I think, on Global. They had done an interview where I wasn't present, but my garden was. Um, and he goes, "But why are you doing this?" And I said, "Maybe I'm doing this so that I could meet you." And I said, "Would you like to take a look at the garden?" And he said, "Yes." So we went over to the garden and it was later in the season. So I don't know if you've ever grown kale, but when you grow kale, you pick the bottom outside leaves. So by the time September comes, you've got this thing that looks like a palm tree. And here's a big burly man, and he says to me, "I would love it if we could hang hammocks in that kale forest, and I would just lay there all day." And I said, "Right?" I said, "I love you just a little bit more." And he smiled, right? And then he says, "Could you come back to the car and talk to my wife?" I guess for some reason they had just lost their son. And I don't know what made them come to the garden. I don't know what made him look at kale plants and wish he was swinging in a hammock. And I looked at her and she was so sad and happy all at the same time. And all I kept thinking is that through that interview on Global, these strangers came from Toronto to look at a garden, and it wasn't about the food. It was about something else, something deeply personal to them. And these are the things that we get to experience every day. Different moments, each one of them just is amazing.
I want to swing in a kale forest now.
Right?
Yeah. That's such a good story. Oh dear.
It's a favorite. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful story. Oh, oh, so many questions coming in now. You guys are all warmed up. Okay, so Christy has asked what your experience is with donating homegrown veggies to food banks.
We we don't generally donate food to food banks. The main food bank. Um, we were doing, like I said, dozens of volunteers. We would go, we would harvest all the food, we'd set it up like a market, and then we would have people come straight to the gardens and get as much fresh produce as they needed. It was based on how many people were in their families. We did bring produce as well to geared to income seniors buildings. And we did give to two churches. But generally speaking, we had, like I said, almost 500 people coming on Harvest Tuesdays, and that was pretty much wiping us out. And we find that sometimes at the food banks, they can't always, with the places they don't have enough refrigeration, and we don't either. So we were just able to pick and give, pick and give, pick and give. So it was as fresh as could be.
And so, all right. This Karina asks, do you have, I say Karina, like that's not my mom. Hi, mom. Do you have volunteer opportunities available to help at specific schools or garden locations that might need extra help?
Absolutely. So we have lots of volunteer opportunities. If you go to our website, wegrowfood.org, there is a place for you to send us your request to become a volunteer. Then Frankie, who does all of our volunteer coordinating, will reach out, chat with you, and then get you an application. Some people come to teach only. Some people come to plant. Some people come for the more physical stuff of digging soil. The nice thing about having so many gardens throughout Durham region is that somebody can say, "Hey, I live in Pickering. Do you have anything going on there?" And I'm going to say, "Yes. Would you like to either be a mentor or work with a mentor?" And we have 15 locations in Pickering, and we go out twice a month or three times a month for a few hours and go visit all these gardens. So they can choose what city and how many gardens they'd like to go and visit, and we'll hook them up with one of our mentors. It's really sweet.
That is awesome. Do you have any volunteer opportunities? Which one would you like? We got many.
Right? Yeah, because right now I have like our calendar for May and June is completely full, and we're doing up to two new builds a day and or four plantings a day. So we're always looking for volunteers. They're usually 3 hour shifts. Some of the hardcore people will, like if we're going to Uxbridge or Beaverton, we'll carpool up and we'll stay together for the day. So it's really up to you how many hours you want to work, but it's usually a 3 hour shift or more and multiples thereof.
So Trevor would like to know where you buy your fruit trees and berry bushes from.
Yeah, absolutely. We get ours from Sheridan Nurseries in Whitby, but it's usually the head office, Aurora, that assists us. Their service is incredible. Dan, who is at Whitby, their knowledge is so amazing. So before Michelle and I took the course, I mean, we were depending on them. So if we were troubleshooting or anything, um, but yeah, they're just so supportive, and I love going there.
Mary Alice would like to know if you help assist with startup gardens or for community groups.
Yeah, for sure. We do all kinds of startups. I just got a call from Mana Group in Whitby, and they want to start a garden. It's an all Black women's group. And so we're helping them set up a community garden. So we're definitely happy to sit and chat with you. And if you need volunteers or things like that, we can always try to assist with that.
Yes, Mary Alice followed up saying Camp Samak has gardens and a greenhouse and they need support, I think, with education probably or planting. But
I didn't know Camp
yeah,
Samak had a greenhouse. Wow.
yeah.
So
So
who runs that? Is it Scouts Canada or it's brand new? Ooh, do like brand new shiny. That's amazing. Well, they could definitely reach out to us and we're happy to chat.
awesome. I'm so glad that we've helped make this connection. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Steve would like to know, Carol, what is the base of soil you would advise to build up for the best quality, and do you add to it every year?
We always we get all of our soil from Camstra Landscaping. I have to say all of our suppliers have been around since the very beginning, 2013. We always use the premium triple mix to get us started. And yes, of course, we build our soil. I mean, healthy soil is important to get nutrient dense food. So we go around in the spring and we put in hen manure pellets as well as alfalfa pellets. We also let all the locations know where they can get free compost. Every year, the cities have a date where you can go and pick up compost, but definitely adding organic matter every year because the raised beds, especially, they deplete. So we need to keep that soil good.
Mary Alice just clarified it's Scout Samak by program committee who's running the gardens there.
I
Um,
would love to know more about that if you want to drop me a note.
I would like to know what you were talking about with succession planting and if there are certain plants that grow well together or help each other grow.
Yeah, so there's succession planting and then there's companion planting. So when you do companion planting, it's planting certain things together. And that could be for pest control, it could be to attract pollinators, it could be to add nutrients to the soil. So there's lots of different reasons for doing companion planting. Succession planting is you plant your garden in the spring, but every 2 weeks you should be planting more. So if you're growing a row of lettuce, you wait 2 weeks, it germinates, it comes up, you start a new row, and as that grows, the second row starts to germinate. So then by the time you're ready to harvest, your next one's ready to go. So succession planting just means that constant planting.
That makes sense. Just having constant things coming up
Yeah,
throughout the year is exciting too.
yeah. I mean, last season, just because we had nothing better to do, we grew up at our land 3,000 seedlings, cool weather seedlings. So we did Swiss chard, spinach, beets, and yeah, something. There were four, and and then we divvied those all up. The mentors took them along with seeds and those seedlings and planted them at all the different gardens with the school teams. And that really showed them that we can continue to plant even mid-September. We were still planting. And that's how the kids were able to take so much lettuce home at Thanksgiving. People think, oh, I missed the May 2-4 weekend planting. I'm done till next year. No, you just keep going and going. You just plant different things.
I feel like that is related to what Christy has just said, which is what are some cold hardy plants we can direct sow right now?
Yeah, so I was just out in my garden this afternoon when I got tired of sitting at my computer. And I planted Oh, I already had all of my onion sets planted. I've planted my cucumber seeds, my cucumber seeds, my peas, my pole beans, my bush beans, my beets, my radishes, my cabbage, my spinach, Japanese cabbage, bok choy, like because you have to think you're planting the seeds, the soil's already warm enough. You plant the seeds now. By the time they germinate, you're already close to the frost-free date. So you should be good to go with a lot of things. I don't do my tomatoes or my peppers now, plants, because you might still get frost unless you have a row cover to put on them.
Checking the chat to see if there are more questions. Um, have you planted potatoes in milk crates? This is something I've never heard of.
Right? I have not personally planted potatoes in milk crates. My friend, one of the original We Grow Fooders, he used to do it in laundry baskets, and it worked really, really well. I've seen it also done in garbage cans, but you have to poke holes in it, right? So when you do it in something that deep, you have to have your soil, put your potato in, and then when the foliage grows, you have to top up the soil. And the foliage grows, you got to top up the soil because the potatoes grow on the stems of what is growing, not the roots. So as the plant grows, you're burying it except for the canopy and just keep going. And so whatever container you can use, I would just personally feel that a milk crate might be a little bit small, but some people do it in those black garden bags. I don't know how much of a yield you're going to get. I know that when I plant mine in a 4x4 bed, I get about 50 pounds.
I'm now thinking about this laundry basket thing.
Yeah, the laundry basket is really good. It's got good drainage. You can layer it with straw and dirt. It's all different ways.
Okay. I have one more question. When you're doing the gardens on the at the schools, are you teaching are do you do like seed saving or do you show them how to do composting or How
Yep.
to, yeah,
We have about a dozen different workshops. We put the workshop, We Grow Food, put the workshops together, created an educational component. Then we went to the DDSB. They sat down with us and attached all the educational programs to the core curriculum so that it was fitting with everything from social science to literacy to math. But yes, we do seed saving, we do wicking pots, so the self-watering pots. We do composting, how to properly compost, how to have healthy soil management. So there's all different topics that we do. So it's really nice if we get a smaller group. So if we get an eco club at a school, we'll have them for a whole day. We can teach a lot of topics in one day. Sometimes the schools want to have as many classes come through as possible. So they'll say, well, we've got 4 grade 3 classes. They're each 25 kids, right? Then we can only teach one topic. So we'll do either seed saving or we'll do wicking pots. If we do wicking pots in the fall, then we teach them how to sprout, and to eat sprouts. And if it's done in the spring, it's how to grow seedlings that can be planted in the gardens,
very cool. I feel like when I was a child, I would have loved these workshops.
right?
Um,
I always say to
okay.
my grandkids, you almost have no time to go to school. You just have to hang out with me all day long, and I'm going to show you some cool stuff. And then they say, Oma, you're the only grandmother we know that says don't go to school. I'm just like, don't tell your
Don't
parents. Don't tell
don't
your
let
parents.
don't let school get in the way of your education.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Oh, Patricia would like to know if you have any experience with high-rise balcony gardens. I would also like to know. I'm in an apartment. I would like to grow plants.
Yeah, there's I mean, container planting works so well. I mean, beans and peas and tomatoes and just herbs and greens. I mean, they all work so well in containers. Just always be aware of the people who live below you. I just spoke to someone who lived in an apartment, did container planting, and she would overwater her plants, and all this water with some dirt would go over her balcony and land on her balcony below. So it's important to have containers underneath your containers. But it works super well. Super well. There's no reason why you can't grow a ton of food on a balcony. Look at how much we're growing in a 4 by 8, 2 4 by 8 beds. Well, most balconies are going to be almost that long, right? 16 feet by 4 feet deep. Like, that's a lot of food.
Checking the chat to see if anyone else has any questions. I would have said speak now or forever hold your peace, but you don't really. You could email Carol, and not
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
hold your
And we
peace.
are looking for mentors for this year. And we do provide training. So if anybody is interested in doing that or partnering with one of our existing mentors, we would love to hear from you.
Volunteer opportunity. If you know any people who would like to volunteer. Okay. Okay. Not seeing any more questions currently. So, um, really, really grateful that you're able to join us. Join us, Carol, and we give Carol another round of applause. Julia, I think it would be a good time if you could take a picture of us. So, switching the screen control over to you, if you could take a picture of us. And then if you're willing to turn on your camera, this would be a great time, so that we can all be human people and not gray Zoom screens. But if you're not wanting to, that is also totally fine. Want to tell us when we should smile, Julia?
Right? Yeah.
Yes. I'm on a different device, so I'm going to try, and then if it doesn't work, Alyssa, I'll get you to take the screenshot. But I
Yeah,
should be okay. Okay, cool. I think I've got the rec thing. Okay, I'm gonna try. So one, I'll at three, I'll take the photo. All right, ready? One, two, three. I don't know if it did anything.
it
Alyssa,
false
do you mind
alarm.
taking a
Yeah,
screenshot? Okay, cool.
yes, I can do it. Okay.
Perfect.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Awesome. That worked. So, um, thank you again so much, Carol. And if anyone wants to rewatch this presentation, it's going to be going up. If you want to relive the Kale Forest hammock story, if you want to hear the answers to any questions again, it's going to be going up on our YouTube channel once Julia has looked at the file and kind of edited it. I actually don't know what Julia usually does, but Julia does her tech magic on the video, and then it goes up on our YouTube channel, which is Climate Justice Durham. And also, we have an announcement of our next Learning Circle event speaker, who is going to be Ralph Torrey. And Mr. Torrey, he is the Director of Research for Corporate Knights, which is a firm that produces rankings and product ratings based on the sustainability performance of different companies. In the early 1980s, he managed the first study of the potential for conservation and renewable energy in Canada. And when in 2002, which is when I was born, he was working with the David Suzuki Foundation and he produced the first low carbon scenario analysis for Canada. So early in his career, he literally invented some of the tools that internationally and local governments are now using to analyze and identify ways to combat climate change. So, very smart guy, and he's going to be coming to chat with us for our next learning circle, which is very fun. The date and time are still to be confirmed for that, so just watch our socials for it or check out our website. And we will also be directly notifying everybody on our mailing list as well. So, thanks everybody so much for coming. I'm going to put up a little poll here. And that kind of will just let us know where folks are coming from tonight, and then how people heard about the event, so we know how people are like finding out about it, and then if this is the kind of topic or thing that you're finding interesting, and that will just help us plan out some of our next learning circles. So if you could fill that out, that would be great. And hoping that folks all learned something for this. And then, as always, you can find us on our socials and you can reach us at climatejusticeserum@gmail.com. And yeah, if you hope that everyone is having a good day and has a good rest of your evening. Thanks everyone for coming. We hope you had a good time at the Learning Circle.
Thank you.